Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of So Tell Us Time. Super excited to be with you guys today. We've got a great episode, and you know what? Troy's back. So we love that. I know. It's just been me for a couple of episodes here. Troy's been running like crazy. We both have in different directions. And in fact, Troy got roped into jury duty. If any of you ever had to do that, you know how bad that sucks, especially as a business owner. It's like, it's crazy. In fact, one of our employees kind of gave us a little tip and trick. He also owns a side business, and one of the things they ask, I guess, in the initial, or at least the last time he did it, the initial, are you able to do this kind of thing, questionnaire or whatever, there was a space for him to say, no, this would negatively impact my business. I wouldn't, my business wouldn't survive this or something like that. And so that's gotten him, I don't know, maybe that's changed and he hasn't done it for years, but that definitely got him out of having to do it a couple of times. So that was nice. Did you see anything like that, Troy, in yours?
Yes, there was, but you had to explain how it would negatively impact your business and why.
But you just say my employees are like children and they can't take care of themselves. So, but Troy is back with us and we're always super excited because Troy brings all the knowledge and, the numbers and all the things that are super important. So today we're talking about navigating the crossroads of achievements and fulfillment. Navigating the crossroads of achievement and fulfillment. Sometimes in life, both in business and personal life, we confuse achievement and fulfillment. So today what we want to do is we want to talk about the difference between the two and how to find balance in your life, because they are not the same thing. People get them confused. And when you do, you risk having problems. So, all right, Troy, let's jump in. They've heard from me enough, especially the last few episodes. They just want to hear you. Coming in hot from Arizona, this is Trevor
and Troy Howard.
And you're on So Tell Us Time. You can have everything you want in your business. Sometimes you just need a little help.
Every business owner would love to charge more for their services, but sometimes you can sacrifice long-term loyalty for a short-term profit.
Creating the right rituals is key to your business having success.
Are you tired of competing with your competitors? Guess what? You don't have to compete if you create.
All right. Well, again, we're going to talk about achievement versus fulfillment, and we're not talking about fulfillment as in like I'm fulfilling a product that somebody ordered. We're talking about fulfillment in your life, right? So, what are achievements? If we were to define what an achievement is, they're basically like external markers of success or maybe goals that we reach in our life. So maybe one of our, achievements is that we hit a certain revenue number with our business, or maybe it's the ability to buy that boat that we want or buy that house that we've always wanted, right? So those are achievements. They're goals that we work towards in our life, either personally or in our business, and then you reach that goal, right? It's a finite moment when you reach that goal. So that's what an achievement is, whereas fulfillment is very different. So fulfillment stems from a sense of purpose and a sense of contentment within ourselves. Right? So it's not this finite moment and this goal of like, I hit this and now all of a sudden I am fulfilled for the rest of my life. Right? And I think a lot of times as people and as business owners as well, we always think like the next stage, like if I could just hit this, then my life would be so much better. Right? If I could just hire my first employee, my life would be so much better. Or if I could just, hit $100,000 in revenue, then everything is going to be so much better in my life, right? And we think that like when we hit those moments, which are really achievements, that they're going to fulfill us as well in our life. And that's not necessarily the case. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. So Robin Williams, if you remember Robin Williams, the actor,
he's him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Everybody loves him, right? But he's a perfect example of achievement over fulfillment. So if you look at his career, famous comedian, hit TV show, several hit movies, he actually won, he won an Academy Award for Best Actor. as a comedian, right? You don't see that very many times where it's a comedian that gets that award. And so he got that Academy Award, which is like the highest thing you can get, right, in a movie. And yet he battled depression, addiction, and loneliness all throughout his life. So here was a man who, from an achievements perspective, reached the very highest levels of his career that were possible. But from a fulfillment perspective, he was very unfulfilled in his life. And he did share several moments, in his life, and talked about what it was like to have millions of people around the world love him, but feel completely alone at the exact same time, right? So that's a really good example of the difference, right? That we need to understand of what's an achievement versus what is actual fulfillment in our life. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, we've talked about achievements. Let's talk about finding fulfillment. How do you do that in your life? And, the definition of fulfillment is basically it's an internal state of satisfaction or contentment. And it's not dependent upon external validation or like attainment of certain goals. It's something that you have, that you feel inside of you. And, a lot of times it comes from a sense of purpose, like maybe something you're doing that brings joy into your life, or a sense of purpose that you have in your life of like, look, I'm here to do this, and this is what makes me happy. So it is very different than those finite goals or achievements that, that we seek after, especially in our business. And so some good examples of things that bring, activities that bring that genuine joy or sense of purpose is a lot of times hobbies in our life can bring that. Quality time with loved ones brings a lot of that, sense of purpose and that fulfillment in our life. And personal growth is another place where people find that fulfillment is as they are, becoming a better person. Not necessarily just achieving goals, but becoming a better person in their life. And so, it's really, you're looking at two different things when you're talking about achievements in your life versus fulfillment in your life. And now, does that mean that they're absolutely the opposite? You can't have achievements and fulfillment in your life? No, absolutely not. In fact, the whole point of this podcast is to talk about finding that balance between the two, right? Because you can actually find fulfillment in your career, right? In your business. Maybe, you just love what you do in your career. And, and I'll give you an example. Like, let's say, for example, you have a deep desire and it makes you feel really good when you help other people through, difficult times or problems. You may be a therapist, right? Or you may be, someone who helps out in those situations, a counselor, where you get fulfillment by counseling and helping people work through their problems, but that's also your career, right? So there definitely are ways that you can have both in a single thing like a career, but then there are other times when they're going to be two separate things, right? And you need to make sure that you are striking a balance between those two things. So, it's really essential to set meaningful goals that align with your values and contribute to your sense of purpose. So making sure that you have those goals set, making sure those goals align with what you believe on the inside, right? Because if your goals are contrary to your internal beliefs, then you're probably not going to find very much fulfillment in those goals, And however, you also want, you need to make sure that you cultivate a mindset that values the present moment and finds joy in the process rather than just the end goal. And that's really important too, because a lot of times we set up these goals down the road of like, okay, if I can just do this, then I'm going to be happy, right? And what are we telling ourselves? We're telling ourselves, I'm not going to be happy all the way through, this process until I reach that goal.
Yeah. And why do you think people say all the time, you got to learn to love the journey? because it is the journey. It is not the end result that is going to make you happy. You're going to need to learn to love that journey, because a lot of times that's the problem is people get to the end result and it's not what they thought it would be.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we can go back to the example of Robin Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to be famous. He wanted to be loved by so many people. And he was, people loved who he was. They loved his movies. They thought he was this great actor. But in the end, it didn't give him the fulfillment that he really needed, right? So
you got Chris
he didn't
Farley. There's a million examples out there,
Yeah.
They say actually that comedians and like these funny people, these actors and actresses, that a lot of times they're masking. That's why they're so funny. That's why they surround themselves with people, right? So they're the epitome or the example, the perfect example.
Yep, exactly. So you need to be able to find that balance, So, and again, that balance may be in your business. You may be able to find things in your business that are goals that you can go after for your business, but also a part of the business that gives you that fulfillment. I know for Trevor and I, we love doing our podcast. Mm-hmm. This is a way for us to give back, to fulfill that desire to help business owners, regardless of whether there's a monetary value to that or not. It helps fulfill us on a weekly basis, right? Then we also have our clients that are our paying clients that help us achieve our goals, right? To grow the business, to generate more revenue, and to be able to do the good that we want to do. So, that for us is a very good balance between, our achievements of what we want to achieve for the business and also the fulfillment, being able to take what we've learned through the business and be able to share that with everyone, without charging anything for that. So for us, that's a really big thing as well. So I want you to take a look at last week. Think about your last week. How much time did you spend on working on your achievements? Working towards those goals. And then how much time did you spend on fulfillment, on doing those things that actually make you feel good inside? And I want you to really think about that for a second, because think about this. If you had $1 billion, let's say, if you all of a sudden got $1 billion, how would your life change as far as achievement versus fulfillment? Would you continue to go after those exact same goals that you're trying to achieve? Or would you find fulfillment in something totally different? Mm-hmm. Right? And now that question's a loaded question because, again, if you have $1 billion, well, now I don't have to worry about anything. So I can just do whatever I want to do that makes me happy, right? And that's just not the way life is. So we've got to be able to find that balance. So as you think about last week, how much time did you spend on each one of those things, right? Mm-hmm. And then how happy were you last week? How fulfilled were you last week? So anything you want to add, Trevor, before we get to the homework?
Yeah, I'm glad that we're doing this episode today because literally we were just at a family event yesterday and we were talking about the lottery. And we were talking about specifically a show that used to be on TV and it didn't last very long, and you'll understand why here in a second. It was called How Winning the Lottery Ruined My Life. And it only made it about 10 episodes. It was phenomenal. You're like glued to the TV, and it was literally out of these 10 episodes, each episode followed one person's life who had won the lottery and varying. Some people won hundreds of millions of dollars. Some people won like 50 million, 10 million, 5 million, a couple million. And the interesting thing about that was every single person that won the lottery out of these 10 became more poor within 3 to 5 years of winning the lottery than they were before they won the lottery. Now, one couple actually like made good choices. They were actually, and the funny thing was they were like the youngest couple. They got married right before he was going into the military. It was a great show, but what was amazing about it and very eye-opening, and I think that I'm sure it probably like they were afraid that people would stop playing the lottery if they kept this show airing, so they got rid of it. But the thing that was interesting about it was none of the people said that they were any happier, that they felt any more fulfilled, that they, it just actually magnified and amplified. If they had problems, it magnified and amplified those problems. It created more problems for them. If they had, bad relationships with families' relationships got even worse. If they had greedy kids or ungrateful kids, those kids got even more ungrateful, And it was so funny because these people, each one, and it was sad, there were some that actually, took their lives and all sorts of things because they couldn't deal with some of the things that came along with that money. People don't understand. So if your goal is money and you think that that's going to fulfill you in life, that's really not gonna be the thing that's gonna be all life changing. I mean, I love the country song, but it can buy me a boat, right? And it can buy me a truck to pull it, and sure, it can buy you things, but it's definitely not going to fulfill your life. You need to learn, like I was saying, and you were saying earlier, like it's the journey. It's learning to enjoy the journey. It's learning to find fulfillment along the way. And we've done that all along back when we first started the business and we were dirt poor, working multiple jobs and, building this company up. We still had to find that fulfillment and that excitement and what kept us going. And it wasn't necessarily, I mean, sure, we were excited about milestones, putting milestones into place and hitting those milestones, achieving those milestones and stuff. But we truly had to find fulfillment in the day-to-day because it was hard. And we all know being an entrepreneur is hard. So yeah, I think this was a good episode. And I really love that, that's just exactly what we were talking about yesterday. And really look at it. Look at what you are going to be like your fulfillment versus your achievement, for sure. Your achievements versus your fulfillment. Like, don't be a Chris Farley, be happy and find joy. So let's look at the homework. Okay, this week, take some time this week to look at your calendar and schedule in time for your achievements and time for fulfillment. Make a plan and stick to it. Like you need to actually schedule this thing out. And if you were to look at Troy and I's calendars, we literally calendar out every single day so that we have time for each thing. And sometimes it's calendaring out the achievements and working on achievements that we need to get. And sometimes it's those fulfillment moments and things like that. But regardless, you need to make time for all of this and you need to schedule that time, plan that time. And then like Troy said, stick to it, right? And make it happen. So, all right, guys. Well, we love you. We appreciate you. We will check you guys out on the next episode of So Tell Us Time.